Are you an aspiring game dev but you never seem to actually finish making projects? It's cool. Let's talk about it. I have some thoughts. What's up, cool people? I'm Brandon, and I am a game developer in my spare time under the username of the brand name of Fold Up Games. And I just made my first commercial game, which is Tiny, the Last Wayfinder. You can play that on Steam. You can try the demo if you want to. Okay, how did I get from here to there? How did I, crazy ADHD guy who just bounces around like crazy, how did I finish a game? And how can you do that too? How can you follow in my footsteps, O Padawan? I have a bunch of games that I did on itch.io before I ever released one on Steam. Before I did that, I made a game series, several of them, in Minecraft as a game engine. I know it's surprising you can actually use that. You can make games in PowerPoint if you felt like it. The real secret to being able to finish making a video game is to finish making a video game. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. That is the truth of it. The real secret to being able to finish making a game is to make a game. And that's why everybody's always saying, well, make a small game. And that's why, is because you're going to get in there and you'll say, oh, I want to make my dream game. And it's too big for you. You can't finish it. You're missing some of the fundamentals. And then all of a sudden you get frustrated and you're blaming yourself. And then, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. What you do is, if you will take on a small project that you have an intent to finish in the weekend, and when I say finish, I mean finish. Your goal needs to be finished with a title screen, with menus, with buttons, with options, with all the stuff that one expects, with the sound effects. None of this, well, I just did what I could. And published, say on itch.io or somewhere, finished all the way through, and it could be something really simple. It doesn't have to be very complicated, but make sure it's playable, stable, and fun. Playable, stable, and fun. My advice to you is that when you're tackling a new game project is to do it with the intent of working out the bugs in your workflow and to reduce friction. Okay? You don't just roll off a log one day and you're making full games and releasing. There was this whole phase when I first released the first game that I ever put onto itch.io, this whole phase of it, of you have to make screenshots, and you have to make thumbnails, and you have to do promotions, and you have to write up the game and all this stuff. I'm like, what the heck? And I was ready to go, and here I am getting, the brakes put on. A game would need all the icons done, all the little all the little launcher icons for a full release. That's the kind of stuff you don't think about. When you're trying to get to a commercial release, there's a whole setup to jump through all these hoops to get set up on Steam, and it's not straightforward or simple. Okay, if you're not at the stage of finishing anything at all, that's on down the road, and you shouldn't worry about it so much. You should be focusing on trying to just finish something at all, and it is the biggest boost to your belief in yourself that you can finish a bigger project, your dream project, if you just finish something, period. And when you're working on it, you need to do it with the intention to find out what is holding you back and what is in your way and what can be changed. For me, I switched from Game Maker to Godot, and it took some time to get into the rhythm of Godot, but it had more capabilities and I liked it better and I flowed with it better. It reduced friction. The fact that I can launch it quickly and load up my software was a win. The fact that there's no logins for it, that's a win. I want you to take a look at the steps that you're going through when you say, I would like to sit and make a video game today. How many steps do you have to go through before you're sitting there working on something, right? Those are the steps we want to identify to find out what's holding you back so that you can do better next time. Did you learn something in the way that you were putting games together that started to hold you back and started to become a problem that you can learn about and do better next time? The other issue here is to not let matters of friction become a reason to abandon a project. If you think that your code is not that awesome, fixing it and making it better is part of game development. So optimizing it and reworking it is just how it goes. But I will say that you cannot work on just a basis of I'm excited about a project and I wish it existed. And a lot of people get into it that way, going, I have a game idea and I'm going to shake a computer until a game comes out of it. And it doesn't happen. Because you haven't built up the muscle, you haven't built up the endurance, you haven't built up the rhythm or the repertoire of tools. You need to have time carved out in your life where you're going to regularly be willing to sit down and engage. So having a game that you're excited about is a great first step. But for me, like working on Tiny, the last Wayfinder, did I mention that was available on Steam? I might have done. Being able to work on that, I had to start out with the passion of saying, am I willing to spend a year working on a game about these little people running around a forest? Okay, and why did I say a year, and how did I say a year? Because, I just said that in a sentence, and you just said, yeah. Stop, pause, let me shine a light here. When I say, can I spend a year working on this, that was not random. I didn't just say a year at random. I have a good estimate about how long it would take me to accomplish something that's feature complete and worth being a commercial release. Okay? I don't get there just by doing it one day. I got there by making a bunch of smaller games over a matter of months. The game that I liked, Teddy's Last Stand, it's on itch.io. It's a fun game that I did for a game jam, and I had a time budget of, I think, 10 days, and I finished it in advance because I'm writing down how long it's going to take me and what day I'm going to do each step on. Okay? And it could be a vague thing about I'm going to get the concept here, I'm going to get a working prototype here, and we're going to have a flex day here, we're going to have sound effects there. But this is the kind of behavior that you don't learn unless you're actually making things. So the greatest irony is that if you want to be able to finish games, you have to be willing to finish games. So you're training your instincts and you're making your workflow better is what you're doing. So that's why just jumping in and tackling a game that you're passionate about is probably not a great step one. It has to be something that you feel like you're passionate about and that you can actually accomplish with the skills you currently have. Do you hear what I'm saying? So you could be excited about it, but it has to be something that is attainable for you. You don't walk in and say, I want to do a multiplayer game when you've never made a game, because multiplayer is a whole other level of complexity. Okay? You don't know that unless you actually got in there and tried, kudos to people who do, but don't set yourself up for failure. Set yourself up for success. I believe that very much, that it's important to set yourself up for success, to let yourself have a win, to let your brain get excited about it and to see it as a positive thing instead of something that you're just going to fail at going in, because you're training yourself with every single project. If you are the sort of person who takes on something and stops over and over and over again, you're training your brain to think that it's never going to be finished. Now, I will say, caveat, asterisk here, not every project that you work on is meant to be finished, okay? It's perfectly fine to not finish every project you work on. When you're doing that, you're actually training your instincts. Or you're just messing around and making code and finding out what works for fun. But when you do commit, when you do say that I actually want to finish something, make sure that you've got a sense about how long you can stay engaged with it and how long it should take and whether it is within your skill set to actually do, okay? Set yourself up for a win and you will gradually get better at it. So this is a process that you need to continually improve and work on. And I've gotten myself to where I've got a few systems in place. I'm using GitHub repositories for my backups. I didn't used to do that. I'm starting with Linux over here because I think it might be faster and less friction. We'll see how that goes. I've got backups in, say, a Google Drive for shared files across different systems. This is the kind of stuff that takes a minute to set up, but you build up from one project to the next. So I could not go from making one small itch.io project to creating, Tiny and releasing it on Steam the next day. There is a whole process. Just getting approved in Steam is a huge thing. So each one is going to take you a little bit further down the road, but each game you release is not the full completed project. So next game you finish, try to do this. Try to make a game that is just playable, at least on your own desktop, and it has a title screen, okay? Next game, try to create something really quick that you can do in a couple of days. It has a title screen, but it's also got a menu that has a setting. okay? Your goal is to release something that is presentable to other people, and then to have something that you can watch somebody else play. Oh, that'll really teach you some stuff. So there are steps that you can take along the way and get better and better and better. So I hope that that is helpful to you. If you have questions or comments, there's always more to say about this, and we'll talk some more in the future. If you subscribe here, I'll talk to you later. Be awesome today.